Hey YouTube, I just saw interesting news here. The title is Israel, Iran, and imminent supply chain risk. There is a potential supply chain disaster lurking out there, maybe just days away. Are you considering the possibilities? I am speaking about a possible attack by Israel, now potentially occurring within days, on Iran's nuclear facilities. This is just like I said in the previous video. The issue has been simmering for several years, with the U.S., Israel, and some European countries raising the alarm about Iran gaining nuclear weapon capabilities and what that might do to global and Israeli security. I have found very few supply chain managers giving the issue much attention, and I am writing this week about whether that is smart or not. I don't mean to get into the politics here, just the supply chain implications of all this. But to get there, we have to cover what is going on geopolitically. After all the posturing calls for sanctions, etc., over the past few years, some experts are now saying that if Israel, with or without U.S. support, is going to take action against Iran's nuclear facilities, as it did on Iraq's nuclear facilities back in '81. It has to happen now to be effective. Why? Because there came news this week that Russia will begin loading nuclear fuel rods into an Iranian nuclear reactor August 21st. That has caused former U.S. UN Secretary John Bolton, among others, to say that if Israel is going to launch an attack, it has to do so before that reactor work is complete. That is because Iran could use these fuel rods as its Bushehr reactor to produce weapons grade material. An attack later may not be feasible because any attack on the reactor once it is loaded with uranium fuel would risk radioactive contamination of the whole Persian Gulf region. So we will see. Maybe something happens within days. Maybe something happens later. Maybe nothing happens. But clearly, this has the potential to be a major supply chain disruptor, at least in the short term. Companies ought to be thinking and planning for it. So, how will it play out? Clearly, there would be an immediate and dramatic jump in the price of oil. How much? Stephen Shorrock, one of the oil industry's most respected analysts, last year had some interesting things to say to me when I first started tackling this issue. It's difficult to say for sure, but I think we would see an absolutely knee jerk rise in oil prices, said Shork. I can't say how high, but we know we can get to 147 because we have been there before in '08, a couple years ago. And it's quite possible we could go higher than that. Okay, so we can expect a sharp bump in oil prices. But will they stick? Shork says that way that while oil and diesel prices will soar in the short term, how long the prices will stay elevated depends on two key factors: the Iranian response and whether that actually and whether that actually impacts the flow of oil. The good news is guaranteed that Israel won't be attacking any of Iran's oil production capabilities. The tougher question: does it lead to war in the Middle East? That's a wild card. Um, let's see here. There's not a lot of love lost between the Arabs and the Persians, Iranians. Many of the Arab countries would be privately quite happy to see Israel eliminate Iran's nuclear capabilities. Of course, am I paranoid? Am I just paranoid about the potential of the event itself happening and its potential supply chain impacts? Over the past week, I asked a number of organizations about their take on the potential problems here. One major ocean shipping and research firm based told me no comment. I think they didn't want to touch the issue with a 10-foot pole. Another major ocean carrier said, "We aren't able to comment on this," implying they haven't really looked at it much. Then pay dirt. Then pay dirt. The executive at a very large freight forwarder told me his company had indeed been doing analysis and scenario planning around the potential for Israeli attack, which he was willing to share with um, us on a confidential basis. The good news: his company thinks the impact on supply chains will turn out to be minimal. It notes that Iran has no ability to block the Suez Canal directly. It would take the conflict escalating regionally for that to occur. While Iran could try to stop traffic in the Gulf of Oman, though, which a lot of oil passes, the Gulf is under a full control of the USA Navy, and it's doubtful that Iran will escalate such conflict to a war against the USA. Um, so, folks, what do you think? Tell me what you think from what you just heard. Tell me what you think.